So, welcome back to my channel. Today, I just basically wanted to talk about a couple of things that happened tonight. I'm the kind of person that wears a lot of hats. I have a lot of different jobs, do a lot of different things. And I'm going to introduce you to one of them tonight. With that being said, one of the jobs that I do is I drive for both Uber and Lyft. And, I had a few interesting things tonight. Not anything too wild, but not anything that's like straight boring. But basically, first rider I had in my car tonight was a little interesting. He was a little upset. Basically, when the call came in, I accepted it, and not even a minute after I accepted it, a girl comes and calls me on the phone, and she's like, "Where are you?" And I'm like, okay, no introduction. I do work off of my regular phone, so I'm gonna occasionally get regular calls. So it'd be nice for people to introduce themselves before asking me questions like, "Where are you?" With that being said, I get there and I pick up a guy, and the guy starts ranting about how bad this girl is and that she was driving him nuts, everything. And I'm sitting here going, okay. I'm just listening to him tell me everything about how wrong this girl was and everything. But that's the first rider. The next rider I had, she was awesome. We had a nice little conversation, driving her all the way back to her house from her job. Cool. But the last two riders that I had today were a bit more interesting. The second to last rider hops in the car. He's definitely drunk. And is telling me he just wants to go to a gas station to get some cigarettes. He had a really bad day, and I'm like, okay. So we get to the first gas station. It's closed because it's like 3 something in the morning. Second gas station, closed. Okay, all right. So he's like, well, I just want to go to a gas station to get some cigarettes. And so I see a gas station on the left. I get all the way over into the left lane. He's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm like, going to the open gas station that I see over here. I'm like, you said you wanted cigarettes. He's like, oh, okay. I'm like, okay, yeah. So he's a little tipsy there. Turn into the gas station parking lot. He starts freaking out. He's like, you're not going to leave me, are you? You're not going to leave me, are you? I'm like, I will sit right here until you come back out. And he's like, yeah, because the last guy left me and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay. I said, I will sit here until you come back out. He's in the store. I'm looking at the app. He doesn't have a return address in the app. So I'm like, So this is probably why the other driver left you. Because you didn't put the other address in. So, in all intents and purposes, he was done with his ride. And so, but I was nice. I said I was going to wait for him to come back out. So I did. He comes back out. He's like, oh, you just made my night 1,000 times better. I'm like, okay, I'll bite. Why? He's like, because apparently I was here earlier and bought a pack of cigarettes and left it on the counter. I'm like, really? Okay. I said, well, I'm glad you didn't have to pay more for the pack of cigarettes. And he's like, okay. He said, and I said, I just mentioned, for future reference, I said, well, I think the reason why the other driver left you is because you forgot to put a second address in. Like here, you didn't put a second address in, so technically I should be done with the ride. I said, but I told you I would wait for you, so I'll just take you back to where I picked you up from. And he's like, okay. He said, don't worry, I'll give you like $15, $20 tip, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. Usually when people say that, they don't give it up, but okay. That's what I'm thinking in my head, but, I'm like, whatever. I'll take him back because I did tell him I was going to do that. So we start heading back to his place, and the cops done blocked off his street. And he starts freaking out in the car, talking about, oh my God, I didn't do anything wrong, blah, 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 blah. Like, I got a nice job, I'm working, blah, blah, blah. So he's going on and on about how he's a good person now and he's done nothing wrong and he doesn't want them to get him. So I'm like, okay, all right. So I said, well, just act normal and you won't look suspicious. I had to do a U-turn to come back the other way and cut through an apartment parking lot just so I could get back over to his street to drop him off. So I'm like, I go to drop him off. He does give me the $20 tip, which was cool. He's still freaking out in the car though, but I'm just like, just calm down, just be normal, whatever. He's like, yeah, but they like the F with me and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, if you don't look suspicious, they won't mess with you. You'll be okay. He's like, oh, I'm glad you're so calm. I'm like, okay. So get out of the car. I complete the ride. He's done. I leave. A few minutes later, another ride comes in. And so I go to pick up this girl. Apparently she's coming out of a strip club. Okay, fine. Thing is this strip club doesn't have a name on it. And the address she put in was not the address for the strip club. It was the address for the Planet Fitness in the parking lot behind the strip club. And there's a whole bunch of cars in the parking lot. She's like, well, she's calling me, right? She's calling me. And I'm like, okay, so where are you? She's like, well, I'm standing right next to a bodyguard holding up a red light or whatever. She's like, I said, okay, I'm out here and I'm in the parking lot right now and I don't see anybody standing up. She's like, well, there's a lot of cars out here. I said, yes, there's a lot of cars out here. I'm in the parking lot, but I still don't see anybody standing up. And so we're going back and forth for a few minutes. And then the guard gets on the phone and he's like, well, do you see a white building with a blue top? Yeah, you just described Amscot. But you also described the building that's on the other side of the Planet Fitness as well. And he's like, well, where are you? In the parking lot facing the Amscot and the Planet Fitness, right in between the buildings. He's like, well, are you parked? What color car do you have? I told them, and no, going back and forth for a few more minutes. And then the guy's like, he's like, well, do you see a building separated from the other buildings that's blue and white? So I don't see this building. So I drive around the parking lot. Oh, there's the building on the corner. I said, well, why didn't you just give me the name of the building? He's like, oh, we don't have the name up yet. Really, folks? Really? So this girl gets in the car. And when she gets in the car, she's like, I'm sorry that was so confusing for you. Really? It wasn't confusing for me. It was obviously confusing for you because you put in the wrong address in the first place. And I'm like, you don't know the address to where you work? But anyway, so now mind you, I didn't say that. I was just thinking it. I really wanted to say it. I really did. But I just thought it and didn't say it. So we're driving to her house, going down Highway 19. And, you know, I got to go like 8 miles down 19. So we're driving down 19, you know, about 1.5 miles before we get off of 19. She's like, where are you going? Really? Really? So I'm just like, to the address that you put in the app. She pauses for a minute or two. Then she's like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I forgot where I was going. You're going to your house and you forgot where you're going. Okay. Alrighty. So when she gets there, you know, I tell her have a good night and to get some rest. Because apparently she needs it. But those were my stories for today. Unfortunately, there wasn't anything that was like super spectacular. But, you know, I'd prefer it not be that spectacular considering that this is my private vehicle. But at any rate, I am going to be posting a little bit more. And I'm going to try and do it on a more regular basis than I have been in the past. I've been trying to figure out what I want to use my YouTube channel for. So, you know, I think I'm going to do a variety of things because I'm just the kind of person who has a variety of interests. So I'm hopeful that a lot of these things that I find interesting that you will as well. Anyway, y'all have a lovely night, morning, whatever it is for you. And God bless.